He looked like just another tired single dad who wore old sneakers, cheap luggage, and a little girl by his side. But when he walked into the hotel he owned, the front desk told him to leave. No welcome, no respect. They didn't know who he was. What happened next? No yelling, no threats, just one quiet move. That changed everything. You won't believe who they embarrassed, and how fast they regretted it. Everything. Reuben Ellington wasn't just arriving at any hotel, he was walking into one he owned. The Sierra Mare Resort in Scottsdale, Arizona, had just finished a 6-month renovation under Reuben's management firm. And though the ownership paperwork carried his name, Reuben kept a low profile, no fanfare, no red carpet, no recognition. Just him and his daughter in an old SUV coated with desert dust, pulling quietly into the curved driveway of a 5-star resort he could have arrived at in a private jet if he wanted. But this wasn't a business trip. This was for Aubrey, 9 years old, wide-eyed, and asleep in the back seat, with her cheek pressed against the window, and a pink unicorn backpack cradled in her arms. Her tablet had fallen to her lap, frozen on a cartoon. Its sound muted hours ago. Reuben sat in the front seat for a moment, engine ticking quietly, just watching his daughter breathe. It had been a long 6-hour drive from San Diego. He hadn't needed to make it. He could have sent anyone, or had a car fly them out. But this was about a promise. Aubrey's birthday was in 2 days, and all she talked about for weeks was the indoor waterfall lobby at the Sierra Mare, the place that looked like magic. And sometimes, when you've been a Marine, when you've lived through war, when you've learned what moments truly matter, you drive, you show up, you hand-deliver joy. "Hey, baby girl," he whispered, tapping the steering wheel softly. She stirred, blinking sleepily. "Are we here?" "We're here," he smiled. The Arizona heat hadn't dropped much, even at 6:30 p.m., but the air smelled faintly of pine and dry wind. Reuben stepped out of the car slowly, his knees cracking, his back tight. A lifetime of discipline, service, and leadership hid under a plain navy t-shirt and worn sneakers. He helped Aubrey down, grabbed their bags from the trunk, and walked with her hand in hand toward the glass doors of the lobby. The sound hit them first, that soft, continuous splash of cascading water. Then the smell, lavender and cedar. And then the sight, a grand 25-foot-tall indoor waterfall wall that glistened under the soft amber lobby lights. Aubrey gasped and ran ahead. "Daddy, it's real! It's really water!" Reuben smiled. He'd built this place, paid for every stone, picked the designers, signed every approval, but none of it mattered more than this moment, watching her eyes light up. They walked toward the front desk where 3 employees stood, 2 chatting behind a monitor, laughing over something on a phone, and one, a young woman named Mackenzie, in a fitted navy blazer, lips painted burgundy, name tag shining. Reuben smiled and approached calmly. "Evening, checking in. Reuben Ellington. Should be under Ellington Travel Partners." Mackenzie blinked at him, looked him up and down. Her smile faltered. "Do you have a confirmation number?" she asked, her tone shifting cold. Reuben kept his voice polite. "No need. I booked directly with the firm. Should be 5 nights, deluxe suite, me and my daughter." She sighed dramatically and turned to her screen. Clicked, scrolled, tilted her head slightly. "Sir, I'm sorry. We're fully booked this week. There must have been a mix-up." Reuben raised an eyebrow calmly. "Could you double-check the Ellington Travel Partners file?" Mackenzie shook her head. "You can try the hotel across the street." And with that, she looked past him to the next couple in line, a man and woman in tennis outfits, freshly pressed, holding designer luggage. "Welcome to Sierra Mare," she smiled at them. Reuben stepped aside quietly. Aubrey looked up at him, confused. "Daddy, did they forget our room?" Reuben crouched down beside her, placed a hand on her shoulder. "I think someone didn't want to see what was right in front of them." "Why?" she asked. "Because some people make decisions based on what they think they know," he replied, "but they don't know us yet." He stood and walked back to the desk, this time alone. Mackenzie had just handed keycards to the golf couple. Reuben spoke calmly. "Can you please check under Ellington Travel Partners one more time?" Her fingers hesitated. She typed. And for a split second, Reuben saw it. The flicker of recognition. His name. His reservation. Her eyes caught it. Then her face shut down. "Still nothing," she said, clicking the screen off. "Like I said, we're full." Reuben didn't argue, didn't raise his voice. He simply nodded and stepped away. From a bench near the indoor waterfall, he made a phone call. "Lisa, it's Reuben." "Yeah, I'm at the Sierra Marais." "No, not checked in. Can you confirm the reservation under the usual account?" "Yeah, the deluxe suite. No need to call the front desk yet. Just confirm it internally." He hung up and sat beside Aubrey. She kicked her feet gently. "I don't understand," she whispered. "It's okay," he said. "Some people just need reminders." As he watched guests get checked in with ease, smiling, laughing, walking right past him with bellhops trailing behind, he waited. Because Mackenzie didn't know who she'd just turned away. She didn't know that this wasn't just another tired single dad. This was the owner of the very resort she worked in, and Reuben wasn't done yet, not even close. Reuben sat on the bench near the waterfall, still holding his phone, his thumb resting against the screen after the call. The soft roar of falling water filled the lobby, but inside his head was silence. That deep kind of quiet that comes when you've seen too much and felt even more. Aubrey leaned against him, her head on his side, still clutching her pink backpack like a teddy bear. She didn't speak, but her eyes said everything. This wasn't just a hotel. This was supposed to be a birthday memory, a dream. And someone had made them feel like they didn't belong in a place they literally owned. Reuben's jaw tightened as he glanced toward the front desk. He watched Mackenzie check in 2 more guests. A businesswoman in a red dress and a silver-haired man in a golf shirt. Both smiled. Both walked away with keys in hand. No hesitation. No problems. The difference was clear. It was always clear. But this wasn't the first time Reuben had been underestimated, and it wouldn't be the last. Just then his phone buzzed. A text from Lisa at his corporate office. "Yes, confirmed, suite 402, your booking is solid. Want me to call them?" He typed back, "Not yet." Then he slipped the phone into his pocket and stood. "Come on, sweetheart," he told Aubrey. "Let's walk for a second." She followed him, quiet but curious. They passed through the lobby toward the resort gift shop, pretending to browse. Reuben wasn't shopping. He was watching, measuring, and what he saw was routine. Smiles for some, silence for others. When they returned to the front desk a few minutes later, Mackenzie looked up with forced politeness. Reuben gave her one last chance. "Miss," he said calmly, "I know what I booked. I know what I own, and I saw your screen. This is your moment to fix it." But Mackenzie's expression turned cold. "Sir, I already told you," she started, but before she could finish, another voice interrupted. A tall man in a grey suit had just stepped into the lobby, sharp-lined with salt and pepper hair, and an expensive leather briefcase. He glanced around and his eyes found Reuben. His expression changed instantly. "Mr. Ellington?" he said with surprise. "Sir, I didn't know you'd be arriving today." Mackenzie froze. Reuben turned slowly and nodded. "Hello, Thomas." Thomas Patel, the regional director for the hotel chain, had just arrived from a meeting across town. He walked over briskly, offering a firm handshake. "You should have let us know you were coming in person. We would have rolled out the red carpet." Reuben smiled thinly. "Thought I'd keep it casual." Then he turned his head slightly toward Mackenzie. "But it seems some of your team didn't check the guest list." Mackenzie's face turned pale. Thomas looked confused. "Is there a problem?" Reuben didn't answer directly. "Why don't you ask your front desk manager how she handled a walk-in guest named Reuben Ellington and how she treated his daughter?" Mackenzie's lips parted slightly, but no words came out. She was frozen, caught between a lie and a career-ending mistake. Thomas's eyes widened. "Mackenzie," he said slowly, You turned Mr. Ellington away." She stammered, I didn't know who he was." "You didn't need to," Reuben cut in gently. "You just needed to do your job." Thomas immediately took over. "Sir, I sincerely apologize. Let me get you checked in myself." He motioned toward another terminal, typing quickly. "Your suite is ready. We'll have a complimentary dinner brought up tonight. Anything you need." Reuben raised a hand to stop him. "Just the key card." Thomas handed it over quickly, eyes darting nervously toward Mackenzie. Reuben turned to Aubrey. "Ready to go upstairs, baby?" She nodded happily. They began walking toward the elevators, but just before stepping in, Reuben paused and looked back. "Miss Mackenzie," he said, "next time, treat everyone like they could be the owner." Then he pressed the elevator button and disappeared behind the sliding doors. Reuben sat in the quiet lounge near the large planter, staring into the stillness. His phone vibrated in his pocket. Another message from Lisa. "Booking confirmed. Presidential suite. 5 nights. VIP file. Your name is listed as primary owner. Want me to call the front desk?" Reuben didn't reply. He had all the proof he needed. Slowly he stood, stretched his back with a quiet crack, and walked toward the hallway behind the reception desk. Mackenzie didn't notice. She was laughing with another couple as they checked in, again with no issues. Reuben bypassed the desk entirely and headed for the door marked "Authorized Staff Only." A hotel security guard, young and nervous, stepped in front of him. "Excuse me, sir, that's staff access." Reuben simply held up his phone, the screen glowing with the reservation file and the company's internal login dashboard. The guard blinked, recognizing the logo and security level, then stepped aside without another word. Reuben entered the back hallway and walked confidently toward the manager's office. Inside, Greg Lambert, the resort's general manager, sat in a leather chair behind a thick oak desk, scrolling through financial reports on his computer. He looked up as the door opened, clearly annoyed, until he saw who it was. His face drained of colour. "Mr. Ellington," he said, standing so fast the chair nearly toppled. "Sir, I didn't realize you were arriving today." Reuben gave a slow nod. "Clearly," he said calmly. "Seems the front desk wasn't briefed either." Greg hurried around the desk, nervous sweat forming on his forehead. "Sir, there must have been a communication error. We weren't expecting you in person. Your team usually handles everything remotely." Reuben raised a hand to stop him. "Save it," he said. "This isn't about me being unexpected. This is about your people treating guests like they don't belong, especially guests who don't look the way they expect them to." Greg's mouth opened, then shut again. No defense, no excuse. Just the sound of realization settling in. Reuben turned and walked out without another word. Greg followed him in a near jog, catching up just as they re-entered the main lobby. The energy in the room changed. Mackenzie glanced up and froze when she saw Greg storming toward her with Reuben by his side. "Get the presidential suite ready," Greg barked. "Now!" Mackenzie's face went pale. "Wait, he's the owner?" Her voice cracked slightly. Reuben looked her in the eyes. "That's right," he said softly. "And you had your chance to treat me like a guest. Instead, you treated me like a problem." She didn't speak. Couldn't speak. Greg turned toward the front desk staff. "I want the suite ready in 5 minutes and everything comped. Meals, spa, pool, VIP service. Understood?" The staff scrambled. Mackenzie stood frozen behind the desk, stunned into silence. Reuben walked to the bench where Aubrey waited. She looked up at him. "What happened, Daddy?" Reuben smiled. "They remembered who owns the building." He took her hand and walked toward the elevator. But before stepping in, He turned back. "One more thing," he said, loud enough for the whole lobby to hear. "If this is how you treat strangers, you're not ready to work in hospitality, because respect isn't reserved for the rich, it's required for everyone." Then the elevator doors closed, and he disappeared from view. Reuben and Aubrey were quietly escorted to the top floor of the Sierra Marais Resort, just 10 minutes after the uncomfortable lobby incident. The transformation in staff behavior was almost theatrical. The same employees who had looked past him now rushed to open doors, carry bags, and offer chilled water bottles like they were serving royalty. The elevator doors opened into a private hallway, leading directly to the grand presidential suite. A bellhop politely knocked before opening the double doors and ushering them inside. The suite was massive. Tall windows stretched wall to wall, revealing the painted desert and city lights beyond. A small welcome card with Reuben's name printed in gold sat on the coffee table next to a massive fruit basket and a bottle of wine he wouldn't touch. Aubrey gasped and ran to the huge window, spreading her arms wide. "It's even better than the pictures," she exclaimed. Reuben watched her glow, letting the tension in his shoulders slowly melt. That sparkle in her eyes, that was all he needed. As they explored the room, staff kept arriving. Room service with complimentary snacks, a concierge offering a private pool appointment, even a pastry chef who had prepared cupcakes with Aubrey's name in frosting. Mackenzie, who just an hour ago dismissed them, arrived silently at the door with Greg, the hotel's general manager. She looked small now, unsure, hands tightly clasped in front of her. Greg took the lead. "Mr. Ellington," he began, "we wanted to come up personally and apologize. What happened downstairs, it shouldn't have happened." Reuben nodded slightly but said nothing. Mackenzie stepped forward next, visibly shaken. "Sir, I assumed something about you that wasn't true, and I treated you and your daughter unfairly. I'm truly sorry." Reuben looked at her, then glanced at Aubrey, now munching on a frosted cupcake, smiling at the TV. "You didn't just insult me," he said quietly. "You almost ruined a little girl's birthday. And the worst part is, you didn't even blink when you did it." Mackenzie's eyes welled up, and Greg stepped in. "We'll be conducting a full review of front desk procedures immediately. I hope you'll give us the chance to make this right." Reuben remained quiet for a long moment before speaking again. "Respect isn't just about knowing someone's name or status," he said. "It's about treating everyone with dignity from the first second they walk in. If you wait until you find out someone's important before you treat them well, you're already doing your job wrong." The words hit hard. Mackenzie nodded, tears now streaking her mascara slightly. "Understood, sir." Reuben didn't shout. He didn't need to. His calm, steady tone carried more weight than any raised voice ever could. "Let my daughter enjoy her stay. That's all I came for." And with that, he closed the door. By sunrise, the energy inside Sierra Marais Resort had completely shifted. Employees walked on eggshells, trying to act normal while the air around them buzzed with unspoken panic. Word had spread fast. The quiet man they had tried to brush off wasn't just another guest. He owned the building they worked in. Reuben didn't demand anyone be fired. He didn't slam doors or call press conferences. But what he did instead hit much harder. He simply let his presence and his silence do the talking. While management scrambled behind the scenes to correct the damage, Reuben spent the morning with his daughter. Aubrey woke up excited, forgetting all about the awkward scene in the lobby the night before. "Daddy, can we see the pool today?" she asked while brushing her hair in the mirror. "Already got the towels ready," he said with a smile. He helped her with her shoelaces and led her to the hotel's rooftop pool. The sun sparkled on the water. Staff rushed to set up umbrellas and fruit platters, but Reuben noticed something different. It wasn't fake this time. The staff were nervous, yes, but now they were also aware. Every "sir," every "can I help you?" came from a place of caution, and maybe even reflection. They lounged by the pool as if the place belonged to them, and technically it did, but Reuben wasn't rubbing it in. He ordered orange juice for Aubrey, read a book while she splashed around, and only looked up when a young lifeguard approached. "Excuse me, sir. I just wanted to say, I saw what happened yesterday. I used to work front desk before this job. I know how it goes, and I'm sorry you and your daughter had to go through that." Reuben lowered his book slowly and nodded. "Thank you for saying that," he replied. "And thank you for watching out for her," he added, nodding toward Aubrey, who was busy counting pool tiles. The lifeguard gave a small respectful smile, then walked away. Back inside, General Manager Greg held an emergency staff meeting. Front desk training was being rewritten. All employees were ordered to retake their customer service and anti-bias modules. "This is not a PR move," Greg told the team. "This is a wake-up call. One mistake from one person nearly damaged everything we built. Let's be better. Starting now." Later that evening, as the resort glowed under fairy lights and desert stars, Reuben and Aubrey returned from a nature trail walk, sneakers dusty but spirits high. The lobby was quieter now. A new front desk clerk named Andre was on duty, young, nervous, but polite. As Reuben walked past, Andre stepped forward. "Mr. Ellington?" Reuben paused. "Yes?" The clerk's voice trembled a bit, but he stood straight. "I just wanted to say thank you for how you handled everything. Most people would have screamed, filed lawsuits, maybe even shut us down. But you just taught us something we'll never forget." Reuben looked at the young man and simply said, "Real leadership isn't about your title. It's about how you treat people who can't do anything for you." Andre nodded slowly, visibly moved. "Yes, sir." Reuben walked off toward the elevator, but before stepping in, he turned to Aubrey. "You see," he said, kneeling down to her eye level, "one day you're going to see someone else being treated unfairly. Maybe they won't speak up, but you will, because now you know what it feels like." Aubrey nodded slowly. "I'll remember, Daddy." On their final morning at the Sierra Marais, Reuben packed quietly while Aubrey sat cross-legged on the bed, trying to decide which toy to bring downstairs. "Do you think we'll come back here next year?" she asked. Reuben zipped the last suitcase and smiled. "That depends. Did you have fun?" Aubrey nodded quickly. "Best birthday ever." That was enough. Down in the lobby, a very different atmosphere awaited them. Greg stood by the desk with a bouquet of sunflowers and a handwritten letter. "For Miss Aubrey," he said, bending slightly to hand the flowers to her. "From all of us here." She blushed and looked at her dad. Reuben nodded. "Go on. Say thank you." Aubrey did, her voice tiny but warm. Greg then handed Reuben the letter. "Inside is my direct number, should you ever return. And a personal apology, not from the brand, not from PR, from me as a person who failed to protect your experience." Reuben read the envelope, nodded, and slipped it into his jacket pocket. "Thank you," he said simply. Mackenzie wasn't there anymore. Rumours said she had been quietly transferred to another location. Maybe to start over, maybe to reflect. On their final morning at the Sierra Marais, Reuben packed quietly while Aubrey sat cross-legged on the bed, trying to decide which toy to bring downstairs. "Do you think we'll come back here next year?" she asked. Reuben zipped the last suitcase and smiled. "That depends. Did you have fun?" Aubrey nodded quickly. "Best birthday ever." That was enough. Down in the lobby, a very different atmosphere awaited them. Greg stood by the desk with a bouquet of sunflowers and a handwritten letter. "For Miss Aubrey," he said, bending slightly to hand the flowers to her. "From all of us here." She blushed and looked at her dad. Reuben nodded. "Go on. Say thank you." Aubrey did, her voice tiny but warm. Greg then handed Reuben the letter. "Inside is my direct number, should you ever return. And a personal apology, not from the brand, not from PR, from me as a person who failed to protect your experience. Reuben read the envelope, nodded, and slipped it into his jacket pocket. "Thank you," he said simply. Mackenzie wasn't there anymore. Rumours said she had been quietly transferred to another location. Maybe to start over, maybe to reflect. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that real power doesn't need a spotlight. It just needs integrity. Because sometimes the quietest person in the room is the one who built it. Stay kind, stay strong, and we'll see you in the next one.